noticed that it's been a while since our previous Doctor Who book review, so I thought I would do another one. Today I'm going to take a look at Now We Are 600, a collection of Doctor Who Time Lord verses. This is an officially published Doctor Who poem book, and never in the years of collecting have I ever seen an official Doctor Who poem book, which is the main reason why I'm reviewing this today. I've decided to sort of mix up the book reviews a little bit. Instead of just reviewing your average Doctor Who prose, full-on novelisations or stories, we had paper dolls last time, that was rather unusual, and now I've got Doctor Who poems. I'm kind of making life difficult for myself and not just reviewing your standard Doctor Who books, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting because I was really intrigued on how this would work. It is written by James Goss, a writer for actual Doctor Who books, as well as Big Finish audio plays. Recently he was on the new Bernie Summerfield Adventures as well, that I have been reviewing recently, and it is of course illustrated as well by ex-Doctor Who producer Russel T Davies. So yeah, I do really like the illustration for this, as I will be showing you in a little bit. But yeah, this is available from the majority of your local Doctor Who book retailers that normally stock Doctor Who stuff. So you're talking W.H. Smith, both online and in store. Waterstones as well, online and in store. I do believe that Amazon also have it currently at the moment on both Kindle and physical edition. I do believe that probably Penguin also sell it directly. I have noticed that the recommended retail tends to be $9.99. However, on a little bit of Googling, it turns out that the majority of those stores are selling it for around $6.99. However, you need to be considering that as it is online, you'll probably need to pay post and packing. And let's face it, I don't think nobody on the planet is ever happy with paying post and packing because it is a little bit expensive. But yeah, no doubt probably in store it will be more the recommended retail than the sort of the reduced price. But yeah, just have a look about and no doubt you'll find a cheap version somewhere. Bin Planet may also have a signed edition available. They did have a signing event a few weeks ago, so I might be making that up at the top of my head. So yeah, do go and check out for Bin Planet, and they may have a few signed versions left. I don't know. As I was previously saying, this is a rather unusual release, and the design for this is rather unique, so I've decided to start this book review with something a little bit different and take a little bit of a closer look at the different illustrations and the general layout of the book in sort of a product review style of format. Thought that this book especially is a little bit nice in design, and when I say a little bit I mean quite a lot. I think that it's rather simplistic, and the illustrations as well, especially with the illustrations being quite a big part of the poem book, I thought they would be better to sort of do a video format similar to this one for a little bit. So as you can see at the front we get the Doctor Who logo, we get an illustration of a Dalek along with the Fourth Doctor nicely dangling out of the TARDIS there, and then we get of course the text there at the front there, which is in a lovely sort of glossy effect. I think that the simplicity of this is really nice. It sort of almost looks a little bit like a notebook to an extent, which I think is a really good approach to give it. Especially with almost this like coffee stained area around the side. I think it looks sort of not exactly amateur, but sort of quite personal. And then of course around the sides, Doctor Who, Now We Are 600, and at the back we get once again a little verse there that'll let you read if you so wish to. Then we get a little illustration of the TARDIS out, which is quite nice to see. On the inside, it's one of those ones that once again is a little bit of just a slip cover. It's just a red book on the inside. Of course on the side we in fact get a poem already on a little side section now of a little illustration of the 11th Doctor with a giant net catching bow ties. And then on the back we get a little bit about James Goss and a little bit about Russel T Davies. So once again, if you'd like to read that, then you can pause there. Taking a look on the inside and taking a look at the poems that we've got. As I say, it sort of continues that more simplistic format due to the poems literally just being poems as opposed to full-on prose as it would be with a normal book. We just get this really simplistic effect with all the poems nicely laid out along the side, along with these really nice illustrations which really do set it off nicely. First one I'd like to start with is in fact Full Stop. It's one of the first poems in the actual book. It's just a really good way to actually show off the illustrations. So it's about each Doctor and the different incarnations, and to accompany it we have little illustrations, as you can see, of all the Doctors nicely sort of portrayed in a very simplistic and very caricature format. And then I just love the main thing about this one is we have all the incarnations, and then the 6th Doctor one, there is an absolutely giant paragraph to represent sort of how very much he likes vocabulary. Let's just say the 6th Doctor, he's a very widely sort of knowledgeable Doctor when it comes to words, and as you can see it sort of continues once again with the simplistic format at the very bottom going through all the Doctors. It is a very nice little thing, and once again, if you're somebody that quite likes art as well, I think this may be something you may enjoy. The notable mention is this really nice image of the 9th Doctor. As you can see, he's sort of been nicely portrayed there on the front looking rather stern, and then what I do really like is around the sides we get lots of sort of small illustrations of different things that happen throughout his era. So we've got the Sylvine there at the bottom, even the android, Daleks, Cassandra, the space pig, Autons, ghosts, of course the Galf, Big Ben exploding, which is really cool. Little illustrations that reference parts in the show as well, such as this one. Here is, of course, Joe Grant sailing down the Yangtze in a tea chest, much like how was referenced in Sarah Jane Adventures. Of course, at the very bottom, we get a Drashig, along with some things that look like he's in an optician's, because, you know, why not? And then one last sort of thing that I'd like to talk about is this giant page at the very back. It back right here, you can, of course, obviously see lots of different companions throughout the 50 years of Doctor Who. Once again, although they're very simplistic, you can quite obviously tell who all these people are meant to be. We have all sorts of people: the Brigadier, Leela, Romana 1, Romana 2, Adric, K9, Nessa, Tegan, Captain Jack there at the bottom, Martha, Jackie, Mickey, 1960s companions in there as well. I do in fact think that everybody is on here that was a rather frequent member of the TARDIS. That was that. Now taking a look at the actual book itself, I'll admit I don't really quite know how to start with this one, because I can't exactly go through every single poem in the whole thing. Mainly I've already gone through a few of my highlights, but taking a look at some of the illustrations and things like that, and generally that's kind of what I would like to talk about. I think that it has a rather, not exactly amateur feel, but kind of a little bit more of a fresh, quite calm, sort of relaxed format. I think that definitely works well with poems, because you can just easily pick this up, and that's the beauty of poems to an extent. Unlike a normal book, you need to pick it up and read it all the way through. Poems, you can just sort of pick one up, flick through a few of them, maybe read some that take your fancy. You don't even need to read it in order, so that is kind of the beauty of this thing. I think that generally it does look rather welcoming. We have different illustrations to accompany different ones. One of my personal favourites is the Dalek one, with a few little illustrations of like walking Daleks and things like that. I think that that is quite cool. As well as just the creative stuff of Not Today, Thank You, of having the TARDIS with a little door in it. It's sort of, it gives, as I said, a nice sort of calm feel towards it. And I also like the variation between the new series and the classic series. It's something that I have noticed creeping into Doctor Who books recently, such as, say, the Myths and Legends book. We have that blend of, say, quite obscure Doctor Who classic monsters, so poems about, say, Sarah Jane, or the old adventures of the Second Doctor, and then that is accompanied by, say, poems with a Von Hartmann from the new series, and the Rachnos, and the bow ties of the 11th Doctor. I think that generally is a really nice variation. For somebody, say, that maybe doesn't really know much about the classic series, or wants to get into the classic series, this is kind of a nice place to start. I think that it's a nice representation of the whole 50 years of Doctor Who, and I like it when books and different forms of media actually blend both of them together, because I think that more and often, especially recently, the classic series and the new series kind of get separated out. I mean, I understand why, because there is a quite obvious divide between the different fans. The new series fans are much more focused to that tighter plot within the 45-minute format, and then the classic fans, there's no doubt, are normally a little bit older, and normally maybe middle-aged men that actually say grew up with it, or even middle-aged females, I don't particularly know. But yeah, there is sort of that demographic between the classic series and the new series, and some people, like myself, don't actually fit that demographic, because, in case you haven't noticed, I'm not a middle-aged man, yet I absolutely adore the classic series, and that is the beauty about Doctor Who and the fandom, as much as I hate to use that word, is dweeks exist, as much as I hate that word as well, Whovians exist, but yeah, it's full of horrible words I absolutely hate. But I think that generally there's a lot of different types of Doctor Who fan, and this tends to sort of congest it all together. I think that a new series fan will like this, as well as a classic series fan, because it's a nice little sort of stocking filler. Should we call that? It is sort of September, so are we allowed to talk about Christmas? But yeah, this is sort of a stocking filler to an extent that no doubt any Doctor Who fan will probably actually like, and they can just put it on their shelf either way and look at all the happy pictures, which like how I do. It'd be wrong of me to expect that the majority of you are expecting for me to pick out the Sixth Doctor poem straight away, because that is the one that I'm going to do now. But yeah, this is one called The Hard Stare, and it is a direct sort of reference to the Sixth Doctor and the Valeyard, hence the little illustration here of the Valeyard looking all dark in the background. And it doesn't actually directly mention the Valeyard, it doesn't even say the word Valeyard. However, it's just a really nice way of words to show how the Valeyard is always lurking in the background of the Sixth Doctor's life, and that darkness, and sort of the way that he just looks, and the piercing sort of stare that he has, and he's sort of like a very eerie presence. And I think the way that that has in fact captured the Valeyard, without really fully explaining what the Valeyard is, has been really cleverly done. So I think I can credit James Goss quite a lot for that. And another one that I'd like to also mention is the shortness of breath. I do, from what I can recall, I actually mentioned this in sort of the zoomed in product review style format bit of footage that I've used. But yeah, I think that with this one, I really like the way that it summarises the Ninth Doctor era. I think that it is, as I say, a very short era of Doctor Who, however, a very strong one, a very tight and confined era, and this really nicely represents all the things that happened, as well as the things that affected the Doctor and the different adventures that they went on. So I really do like that one for what it is, and as well it's accompanied by some rather nice illustrations. I could imagine that one, to be honest, being something you would see on Tumblr. All of these I could imagine seeing on Tumblr. just having a read through them, even though I don't exactly like Tumblr, but at the same time, it's a poem. Poems are harmless, sort of. Unless it's a deadly poem. That sounds like a Doctor Who story right now. To admit, this has sort of reawakened my GCSE literature sort of phase that I did when I was back in school. And much like in English literature, there is some poems that you like and some poems I in fact can still remember to this day from English literature and back in GCSE. And then there's ones that you don't like as much, and that is very much the case with this book. I will admit there is some that I flicked through and read, and I just thought, that's a thing, isn't it? But there's other ones that I really like the way that it captures the different eras of Doctor Who, as such as the ones that I've mentioned. So yeah, it is a little bit of a mixed bag. But then again, what poem anthology isn't a mixed bag? Overall, for Doctor Who Now We Are 600, it is a rather unusual yet unique release. I think that unless there is a part of the Doctor Who demographic audience that is obviously a fan of Doctor Who and very vivid poem readers, I've not exactly heard of many, but if you are one of them, maybe make yourself heard in the comments below on why you like this book. However, I think it's one of those things that on the outset you do think Doctor Who and poems, that really shouldn't happen. However, upon reading the actual thing, you do think, you know what, this actually kind of works. I think that James Goss does have a way of words, sometimes better than others when it comes to their poems, that really does convey a really nice message. And I must admit, whilst preparing for this review, I've kind of got to like the book a lot more. I've been going around, not necessarily asking people who I know online, but generally people who I know on a day-to-day basis during college, who I know from other places, and actually saying, why do poems exist? I've been asking people, what is the purpose of them? And a lot of those people have actually said, well, it's sort of to either say a message or respond to something or tell a story. And that I sort of implied that to Now We Are 600, and it made me realise there is a lot of stories in there, such as the story of Sarah Jane, where we have a poem about her time in the TARDIS, and then especially that Ninth Doctor one, and one that is very major for me, the Second Doctor one, where they were running through all the different phases and all the different adventures that they went on. It shows the story, and it represents that era of Doctor Who, and I think that when you apply the idea of stories to it, then this book does in fact fit that format, and I think that some of them are very powerful, but as I say, due to it being a poem book, there is a mixed bag. There are some that are better than others, and undoubtedly there is literally some people as well that will not touch this book with a barge pole, and I don't blame you. If you don't like poems, this book is not for you. Don't buy it. But also, if you're willing to try something different, then maybe go out and buy this release. It's one of those things that, as I say, it will not float everybody's boat. However, it will float some people's boats. The majority of the Doctor Who books that I reviewed so far have always had that purpose. You've got the pros that are there for actual reading and storytelling, and generally people who want to read Doctor Who stories. Then you've got the factual ones that want, when you want to find out more about certain things. Then you've got Paper Dolls and Mr. Men that are aimed more at that younger audience and the people that are more creative. And then you've got this one that are aimed at people of fans of poems, and as I say, that era of Doctor Who might be something that does in fact exist, but at the end of the day, if you know a Doctor Who fan, and if you're watching this review to find out if the book is worth buying for a Doctor Who fan, then I guess this is kind of a nice little stocking filler, as I say. It's a nice sort of fairly cheap book as well, so I guess, you know, you could buy it if you like the idea. That's that for Now We Are 600. I guess I'll see you all in the next review, whatever that may be. I know I've got a few book reviews planned for the future, as well as a few product reviews, and of course Big Finish in there as well. So basically stay tuned for a lot more videos in the future. So thanks for watching, I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.